Okay, so we're starting this one off with number 36. So on this, it's looking at your domain and your range. So your domain has to do with the x, and that's going to be the opposite. So the opposite on this is that x can't be -1. Then your range has to do with the number that's outside, or your y values. So this is my range. So on this one, it's the same, so x can't equal 3 for that. So your answer for that one should be letter B. It can't be -1 and it can't be +3. Same thing here. Domain, x can't be equal to 0 for my domain. My range has to do with the stuff that's outside, so my y value can't be equal to 1. So this one is letter A. So on this one, we're multiplying. You want to make sure and do your factoring first. So on the first one, I would take out a 9, and I'd be left with r minus 3 on both. And then I have r plus 4, and 9. So I can look up, down, diagonal. Write that down somewhere. Up, down, and diagonal. D-I-A-G, not dig. Sorry. Okay, so diagonally, these are r plus 4s. They're a quantity and they go together. Then diagonally, these 9s. So the only thing you have here is r minus 3. The other part of this answer is, what are the restrictions? Well, the restrictions are, what would make these two things 0? So nothing can make that 0, but what can make this 0 is -4. So that might be able to help you also, because it's multiple choice. Okay, so on this one, I have 1 over 2r. I'm going to take out a common 2 and r from this, because if I take out 2 and r, I'm left with r plus 6 over r minus 5. So then diagonally, I can get rid of this. And then I'll be left with r plus 6 and r minus 5. The biggest mistake that I keep seeing people making is you try to get rid of that. You cannot do that. This is your answer, okay, because it's held together by addition. So the only one that has that answer is this. Or if you were looking at your restrictions, what makes this would be 0. What makes this one become 0 is 5. So that's where your restrictions come from on those. Number 40. You are dividing here, so you have to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and take a 9p out of both. If you take a 9p out of both, you're left with 2p plus 1 over 9, and then p minus 3 over 2p plus 1. Because again, I had to multiply by the reciprocal, which means the opposite. So if I look up and down, these 9s can go away. Diagonally, p plus 1 can go away. So now I have p and p minus 3 that's left. And so where do our restrictions come from? Well, the first time, it comes from this. The second time, I would say, okay, here's my other thing, and that's what's going to give me a half. So both of those are my restrictions. My next one. Division also, so I have to multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to go ahead and factor my first one. So what multiplies to 60 that adds to 32 is 30 and 2. So now I have to go long way. 6b squared, 30b, 2b plus 10. So what's in common here is 6b, and I'm left with b plus 5. In common here is 2 and b plus 5. So when I reset that one up, 6b plus 2 can still reduce. There's a greatest common factor here of 2. So I'm going to say 2, and then 3b plus 1, and then b plus 5. And again, where did that come from? This would distribute back to give you that. Then my bottom is 3b plus 1. Then I have to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. So I have b minus 6, and this one has a common 2. So I would have 2 and then b plus 5. So if you don't take out those greatest common factors, you're not going to realize that those cancel, and those cancel, and your 2's cancel. So your only answer you have is b minus 6, which is A. Okay, so again, how do you get your restrictions? Here's how you get this one. This one gives you 6, and then when you flip it upside down, when I do this, I get that. Oh, I mean from down here. Sorry. Is how you get that negative 5 when you flip it upside down. Complex fractions that aren't really that complex. This is the same thing as saying 9m squared divided by m squared over 9. I just need to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. Go straight across, I get 81. Denominator, m to the 4th, d. Okay, this one just has some adding and subtracting in it. So in our numerator, we need to get like terms in this. So my like terms is going to be to put that over 9. So to make this become 9, I have to multiply all of this stuff up here by 3. So I have a minus 1 from here, and then I have plus 3a minus 3. So I'm going to write that as one fraction down here with my like terms put together. So I have 4a minus 4 all over 9. And then my denominator, I'm going to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. So I have a minus 1 over 9. Okay, so then what happens with that is we're going to FOIL these tops together, and the bottom is just going to give you 81. That's all your denominator is. So you automatically know that it's going to be this, but you need to FOIL that out, or you can, you have to FOIL it out. So you'd have 4a squared minus 4a plus 4, and that's going to give you that negative 8a that's there. (44) is adding. These already have common denominators, so its common denominator is 10x plus 20. So I can go ahead and put my like terms from the top together. Those are like terms, I get 2x. Those are like terms, they give me plus 1. So your answer to that should be A. Number 45. Your common denominator on this is going to be 2xy squared for both of them. So this one is already 2xy squared. So I don't have to change anything with this one. But what do I have to do to this one to make it become 2xy squared is I have to multiply it by x, y squared. So that's going to give me 4x squared, y squared. Okay, so then what I can do is put this all together in one problem. So I have 5x minus 4x squared y squared, because those are not like terms, over 2xy squared. So you don't have that as one of your options. But what you can do is up here in the beginning, because this was up and down, is I can take out an x from this, and I can take out an x from this. So this really probably isn't my best answer, especially because it's multiple choice. So I'm going to have on this one 5 over 2y squared, and this one is now going to give me minus 4x y squared over 2y squared. So because we were able to cancel things, because it's multiplication up and down, we didn't do anything wrong. So we have 5 minus 4xy squared over 2y squared. So if you rearrange that, that's just going to give you letter D. (46). Our common denominator on this one is going to be, so I would factor this one first and say, okay, I'm going to take out a 2 and an x, and that's going to leave me with 5x minus 1. So the 2x is going to be in both sides. So that 10x squared is really what's going to be our common denominator. But I'm going to go ahead and write it as 2x, 5x minus 1, and then 2x, 5x minus 1, because it's going to help us realize what we can eliminate. Okay, so if I multiply by that up top, 2x, 5x minus 1, and then the original 4 that was up there, these are going to cancel out, and I'm just going to get 4 for that. Over here, if I multiply this by 2x and 5x minus 1, and then 4x, well, I didn't have this to begin with. So I can only get rid of these, and so I have to multiply this together. So then I'm going to have 20x squared minus 4x. So what I can do with that then is to put these all together.